Let us offer our consecration to the Lord. Lord, we offer up to you this day, and we ask that your name be glorified so that we may glorify you in all that we do. Let this time of Advent be a time that we become more like you, that we grow in our prayer, that we grow in the fruit of our prayer, and that we grow in service to you. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Well, today is a very special day in the life of the church. Today is the day we celebrate Our Lady of Guadalupe. And what's the story of Our Lady of Guadalupe? Well, it's a fascinating apparition is one of the ways we can describe it, although it isn't an accurate term, and I'll explain to you why. An apparition, of course, we know, as the word implies, something appeared, and it's a time when a Native American in Mexico, and obviously a descendant of the Aztecs, who was a farm worker. He is out in the fields, and he happens to see this image or this figure of a woman, and she begins talking to him. That's why it's not just an apparition. I mean, that's what we call it, but apparitions do not talk to people. If you've ever seen that, I mean, so this is, even though that is the term in the church, but as we see in Fatima too, this happens as well. And they converse, and there's a long story behind it. And if you want to read up in the story, please consider doing so. But the key point of the story is over several visits, they are talk back and forth, and he tries to inform the bishop that this woman, who he comes to recognize is Mary, the mother of Jesus, is appearing to him. And of course, when anyone ever says, Mary appeared to me, your first response to that, often as a priest usually is, oh, okay, and we're not so convinced. And there's a certain form of discernment to see if that is in fact happening. But actually, if you're talking to someone and they say that someone or a demon appeared to them, I've had people tell me that, or even an angel appeared to them, or whatever the case may be, that can be a symptom of epilepsy. But if it's over several days and if there's some physical evidence, well, obviously we're not talking epilepsy, and this is exactly the case in Our Lady of Guadalupe. Well, to make a long story short, he tries to keep convincing the bishop that this is happening, and the bishop's men are just kind of like, I'm sure it is. Have yourself a good day. And what ultimately happens is she arranges roses and asks him to take off his tilma, and she puts these arranged roses in his tilma. So he's carrying those roses in his tilma, which is also another name for a cloak, and tells him to bring these roses to the bishop as a sign that this is really happening. So he does that. And there's a couple very minor differences in a couple stories related to that. One is, which is my favorite description of the story, is that as he's bringing the roses wrapped in his tilma to the bishop, he gets to the bishop's house and he trips. And in tripping, the tilma falls to the ground, and obviously so do the roses. Now, roses at the time of year this happen usually don't appear, so that is a sign in itself. But Mary arranged those roses in a special way, and he was disappointed because now they couldn't see the special way the roses were arranged. So as that story goes, he went to look up, obviously, because he's got to pull himself off the ground because he tripped. And as he looks up, he sees the bishop and the priests to work with the bishop on their knees looking at something, and he looks to see what they're looking at, and it's his tilma and the roses. And in his tilma is this image of Mary that even he never saw before because it wasn't part of the tilma. And that's when he realized that was the actual sign that Mary left for the bishop. And that tilma is still available. You can still see it on display in Guadalupe, Mexico, in the Basilica of Guadalupe. And many people take various trips down there. to see this tilma, including members of our United States government, one of which was Hillary Clinton. So we see this very powerful image representing this. It's actually an image of Mary, the Mother of God, and it was there that the bishop realized this is true. And so that is considered one of the confirmed apparitions of Mary in the world, and it's in Guadalupe, Mexico. Now, an interesting thing to look at when you see that is this happened on the site of what once stood a temple to an Aztec god. And Mary's message was basically, my son is your God now. Very powerful reality. We'll talk more about on the other side of the break. You're listening to St. Anthony Overnight from St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. We'll be right back. Are you looking for guidance on how to live a purposeful and transformed life? Look no further than Romans 12, a chapter in the New Testament that offers practical wisdom for believers. Romans 12 begins with a powerful call to offer our bodies as living sacrifices to God, urging us to renew our minds and align them with His will. This chapter highlights the importance of humility, using our gifts for the benefit of others, and exercising genuine love. It teaches us to be diligent in serving the Lord, rejoicing in hope, persevering in tribulation, and being devoted to prayer. But it doesn't stop there. Romans 12 also teaches us to live in harmony with others, extending kindness and hospitality even to our enemies. It urges us to overcome evil with good and leave vengeance to God. So if you're seeking guidance on how to live a life of love, humility, and service, dive into Romans 12. Let its practical wisdom transform your life. Romans 12, a chapter that offers a roadmap to living a purposeful and transformed Christian life. Available now in the New Testament. Get your copy today. And want to let you know, on December 22nd, Sunday, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, here at St. Anthony's Parish, which is located at 43 Holton Street in Allston, Massachusetts, right between, by a little bit of a distance each way, Soldiers Field Road and the Mass Pike. As we say, it's a stone's throw away, just don't throw the stone. And so it's at 3 p.m., the 22nd, we're going to have a Christmas festival of lessons and carols in two languages, by the way. It'll be in English and Portuguese, because we will have both the English-speaking and the Brazilian community together. It's free. We will ask for a donation during the celebration, but it is free to anyone who would like to attend. So consider that, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, St. Anthony Parish, 43 Holton Street in Allston, Massachusetts, and you can come and join us on December 22nd. So we're continuing to talk about this special day and this whole story of Our Lady of Guadalupe. There's a fascinating story that also happened that was back in the 30s. You know that Mexico was the first country that the Soviets were going to put an embassy in, because then that was going to be the next communist country. I don't know if you knew that. And so in 1925, with I believe his name was Emperor Maximiliano, he became the Emperor of Mexico and was very communist and very anti-Catholic. And that's where the Cristero War came from. That's why they had the Cristero War. So, and Viva Cristo Rey, that famous saying. And so what happens is there's a man who puts a bomb under the tilma, and the intention, obviously, of destroying it. Now, we've seen this principle before. Who protects Mary? Jesus does. So the bomb goes off, and right under the tilma, and the tilma is fine. But a distance from the tilma, in the middle of the church, is a crucifix that's completely destroyed by the bomb. Why? Because Jesus takes care of Mary. So we understand that simple understanding, because that's his earthly mother. So we understand that. And that's one of the great signs we can see of that relationship with Jesus and Mary. Remember, Mary is not God. She is basically the first of all saints. She's fully human, not divine in any way, shape, or form. But we do understand that. And a good example of that also in our own time was when you had the fire at the Basilica, the cathedral, the Notre Dame Cathedral in France. And where did people have to go because they couldn't go to Mass at the cathedral? Down the street at the Sacred Heart Church. Sacred Heart, of course, Sacred Heart of Jesus. That whole understanding of that relationship between Jesus and Mary was actually shown, obviously, in that case of the bomb. And also, you can see it in other cases, such as what happened in France. So we understand that reality. The tilma, it has an exact, authentic duplicate, which you can find. And obviously, there are various authenticized duplicates. So it's not the actual. It just looks like the actual. Over at the Madonna Queen Shrine, for those of you who are in the Boston area, the Madonna Queen Shrine here in Boston, in East Boston. And if you know what that is, that overlooks Logan Airport. So if you're over in East Boston, you'll see the shrine, and then you just follow the road to get up to the Madonna Queen Shrine. And it's a beautiful shrine to begin with. Definitely some place to visit. During Advent rather, they have this a diorama of Jerusalem. So that's really cool to see as well. So definitely you might want to check that out so you can see a picture or an authentic replica of the Tilma over in East Boston. In the meantime, we're going to be back tomorrow on December 13th. Have yourself a blessed day, and we will see you then. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. Remember, when you're looking for a place to attend Mass, and if you don't already attend Mass at your local parish, come to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. We're located at 43 Holton Street in Allston, just a few blocks up from Soldiers Field Road. And you can check us out, come to our 10 o'clock a.m. Mass, and come to experience our Catholic worship at St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts.